Okay, Shalom, Shalom, Kwam Yasa'Allah, Koholoyim La Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakaha Chadash, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth. And just want to say the water to other Akim and Akwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to the best of their ability. This is Jacques Hanan Nawaf just coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And we got another one, man. You can see the Jake right there. He killed the stepdaughter. Okay, it appears that she's a postal worker. What you thinking? Hey, well, let's just get into the article. He could say, excuse me. Stepdaughter's criticism of stepdad's manners became her final words before he killed her in front of her mom. And again, man, I always say, man, if you don't have nothing to do, no lessons on, man, just go to Law and Crime. This Law and Crime app, that shit, man, it's got nothing. Me and beloved brother Allah, he was sending me some videos yesterday. I don't even know. I mean, the brother, he got a stomach for it, man. I really don't even be wanting to see a lot of that shit. But I mean, it is what it is, man. Hey, these people crazy as fuck, man. There's a lot going on in the world. People are unhinged. They don't have no self-control. Matter of fact, I want to get that too. That word incontinent. Matter of fact, let's just go to it. And matter of fact, look at that. It's got 144 thumbs up. That's spiritual. Let's get the scripture first. We'll get into some of this article. I mean, this pretty much right here sum up the whole lesson here. This one particular these 4 to 5 verses right here. What's that? 1 Timothy 3:1. Let's start there. Nope. 2 Timothy. Slacky, I'm bugging. 2 Timothy 3, starting from the top, verse 1. And it's entitled, Difficult Times Will Come. It says, This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents. Now, this is not just talking about men, this is talking about women as well. Disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent. That word incontinent goes into no self-control. Fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. See? These are the things, this is the attitudes of the people that are moving about the planet today. Whether you see them at a stoplight, you see them at a gas station, you see them at Walmart, they just in your house. Hell, they're a part of your family. They have these attributes, they have these traits. People are fucking disrespectful. No type of sympathy, no type of respect for you, and people are just tired, bro. They've been stretched too far. And then they'll tell them, see, with a situation like this right here, let's go into the article. Because he ain't just do that. I mean, even though it was wicked as hell, it was not wise, because his ass going to jail. He gonna spend, he gonna spend the rest of his days in jail being that age. 64. He's 64 years old. No, he gonna be in there if he stays alive, he's gonna be in there when the Lord comes. He probably should have just moved on with his life to begin with, considering, you know what I'm saying, you dealing with a woman with a disrespectful daughter, don't have no respect for you. He could have just moved on. Even for that particular situation right there, he could have said, you know what, let me just go and get me a room for the week somewhere. Just got away. I'm not sure if he's staying with her or she's staying with him. Is this his home or is this his house? But that's the thing about dealing with women with kids. You got to deal with a person that's not biologically yours, that's got a whole nother father You know, you got to deal with that nigga. You got to deal with the baby mama. You got to deal with drama. You got to deal. And if she worked for the post office, I don't, like I said, again, I'm not sure what the situation is here. But you think, okay, she have her own place. She be with her husband somewhere instead of in her mom's mix. Because I'm reading the article, you know, I did read, you know, somewhat of it, you know, it basically, he trying to get into the kid. Let's just read in the article. Let's get some of it. It says a 64-year-old man in Florida is accused of killing his stepdaughter after a seemingly innocuous kitchen encounter ended with him shooting her several times in front of her mother. It says James Pelzer was taken into custody over the weekend and charged with 1 count of dangerous and deprived murder without premeditation in the slaying of Alanda Cuffey. According to the probable cause affidavit, deputies with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office responded to a residence. Okay, it was 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. A nigga trying to get in, he probably just trying to get in there, get him some breakfast, get him some coffee or some shit. I don't know, you know, motherfuckers be getting, you getting out of bed that early, man, and doing shit like this is just crazy as hell. But we know that that's those spirits of vengeance, man. It says upon arriving at the home, first responders said Pelzer was already outside and surrendered without incident. Shortly after his arrest, Pelzer allegedly told deputies, I messed up bad. Well, again, you know what I'm saying? Let's get a scripture on. I kind of went into some of these yesterday. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 16, verse 32. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh the city. That's why we have to, you know, rule over our spirit, man. We're walking amongst wolves, man. We're sheep amongst wolves. You know, these scriptures comes in handy, man. Because there's let me see, there's one that says that anger resteth in the bosom of fools. Yep, Ecclesiastes 7:9. Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools. You don't want to, don't let everything just piss you off. You know what I'm saying? You got to just deal, man. Because if you letting everything piss you off, shit, throughout the day, you been slapped 100 niggas, man. You be in 100 fights, man. You know. By the time you get up and go to work and do all these different things, you know what I'm saying, man. By the time you get home, man, you'll be done had to fuck up a bunch of people. You know, but nah, the scripture says to be angry and sin not. And again, that's just something you got to deal with, man. When you dealing with stepchildren, you got to see you brothers, man. You got to realize that just because a chick look good, that shit don't mean a goddamn thing, bro. You are walking into trouble when it comes to dealing with these women with children like that. It just is what it is. I remember growing up, it was more if a man got with a woman, her husband had died. Because that's really the way that a woman's supposed to be with another man. That's the only way, is if her husband passes away. That's scriptural. Other than that, she's committing adultery if her husband is still alive. But there was a time when back in the days where a man would take he would take over a family, man. You got testimonies of people that's like, hey, look, man, my step pops, you know what I'm saying, he's my real father, this and this. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the man or woman that I am today. He looked out for me, he fed me, he clothed me, he sent me through school, he protected us, he kept us safe, so, and there was a time when that was the case. Now you just got dudes just dealing with these women because they got a fat ass, they got some tits, they got a nice little smile. They got that fucking wig on. It just so happened to just be looking good that night at the club. You've met her or wherever you met her at. And now you moving in with a motherfucker that's got a kid or 2 kids or 3 kids, 4 kids by some other dude or dudes. And you got to deal with that shit, man. And they disrespectful. You can't chastise them. You can't put your hands on them. You just living there with them. You pretty much, you just working to pay bills to be disrespected. You might as well have your own place. You're going to deal with her. That's why the apostles say, hey, man, hey, have your own place, let her have her own. Because if he had his own place, he wouldn't have been trying to get by her in the kitchen. But let's get to the point of what she said. Smart ass mouth. Hey, that mouth goes a long ways, man. That mouth goes a long ways, man. Everybody not with that, all that smart talk, all that back talk, all that slick talk. You know what the scripture says that death and life are in the power of the tongue. Yeah, you can say some shit, man. A motherfucker just go totally berserk, straight up. Okay, it says upon arriving at the home, first responder said Pelzer was already outside and surrendered without incident. Shortly after his arrest, Pelzer allegedly told deputies, I messed up bad. He also reportedly directed officers to the firearm, which he said was inside the home, sitting on top of a Bible near the front door. Okay, so why do you do what the scripture says, man? That's what let's see here. Let me get that scripture real quick. Because this has to do with Jake too, but Esau, we use it for Esau, but it's got to do with Jake too. Psalms 50 and 16. But unto the wicked Yahweh saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, seeing thou hatest instruction, and casteth my words behind thee? Had you been doing what the scriptures had said, you know what I'm saying, you wouldn't have got into that situation, bro. Anyway, it says, inside, first responders found Coffee lying on the floor, unconscious and unresponsive, in a pool of blood with multiple gunshot wounds. She was pronounced dead at the scene. So he didn't pop her ass once. He hit her ass, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It says, in an interview with investigators, the victim's mother said she was in the kitchen with her daughter when Pelzer entered and tried to walk around Cuffy. Cuffy's mother stated that she then told Cuffy to move out of the way for James Pelzer, at which point Cuffy stated, well, mama, he could say, excuse me. See? Investigators wrote in the affidavit. Cuffy's mother stated that James Pelzer did not respond and walked back to his bedroom. Cuffy's mother stated that she observed James Pelzer walk out of the bedroom with a short and black handgun in his hand and fired approximately 4 to 5 shots at Cuffy. Ooh. And that's Pensacola. I used to live there one time. The stepfather was ultimately charged and arrested with shooting and killing his stepdaughter. It was about movement inside the house, whether one could walk around without bumping into the other. So this was something ongoing, man. You know what I'm saying? It was something ongoing. This dude didn't just walk into the room. He probably just got to a point where he's just like, fuck it, and he probably contemplating popping her ass many times before. It says, immediately after the shooting, the mother said Pelzer did not appear to regret his actions. I asked the mother if James Pelzer had said anything before he shot Coffee, to which she answered no. Cuffy's mother stated that the only thing James Pelzer said was for her to be quiet when she began to pray out loud over Cuffy. Hold on, huh? Okay, hold on. Let me see that again. Her mother stated that the only thing James Pelzer said was for her to be quiet. Okay. When she began to pray out loud over Cuffy. Okay, yeah. You know she was praying in the name of sweet white baby Jesus. That nigga was like, man, shut your ass up. After allegedly stating that he had messed up, authorities said Pelzer refused to answer questions and requested a lawyer. Inside the home, authorities recovered a small black Ruger 380 handgun, along with his empty magazines and a round of ammunition. The victim's mother also told investigators that Pelzer had a history of anger issues and had previously threatened to use his gun during other incidents, though she said he had never been physically violent towards her or her daughter before the shooting. Yep. Said he had them anger issues. Now that spirit of vengeance jumped on that boy, man. Pelzer is currently being held in Escambia County Jail without bond. Okay. Well, mama, he could have said, excuse, well, you could have just got on out of the way. You know what I'm saying? Respect the man. Respect the man in his castle. But now, men they don't get no respect, man, out here no more. That shit is a done deal. I was watching a video earlier with, matter of fact, just a little while ago, too, with this chick. She was talking about where the men at, that used to protect and keep women and kids safe. You know, what's going on with these men that are actually, deleting the children and the women and all this other stuff? So, you know, it's just like, hey, and the brother had the perfect title. It starts with Eve. It starts with you so-called black women. You don't know how to shut the fuck up. You constantly talking. You constantly running your damn mouth. And these dudes is not playing no games no more. The Lord is actually unleashing judgment on y'all asses, man. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. All that tough talk, all that old wild shit y'all be doing. Yeah, these dudes putting y'all asses in y'all places now. Well, let me get that Ecclesiasticus, because that spirit of vengeance jumped on his ass. Ecclesiasticus 39:28, it says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. They shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. So these spirits of vengeance, hey, when the Lord gives them a command, they coming to do what he told them to do. Don't give a fuck about how little you are, how young you are, how pretty you are, how smart you are, how whatever you are. It's not, hey, them spirits that says they rejoice in getting a commandment from the Lord to knock your ass off. And she caught the business at 10:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Probably was making breakfast just before they was going to church or some shit. You know? Because for her to say that, you can clearly see, you know, there was no respect there. That dude was probably, you know what I'm saying, going through complete hell in that place. Look at this nigga. He looked like one of them James Evan types of Jakes. Let's see her ass. Yep, there you go right there. She looked like a study. Yep. That looked like a fucking dude. I ain't even peeped. And she looked like this. It looked like she got the titty strapped down, looking like a goddamn boy. Probably with that, and yeah, just disrespectful. Caught that fucking business, man. So, hey, it is what it is, man. You know, and y'all gotta walk circumspectly out here. And, you know, just be circumspect, bro. It's you know, this is a very unsafe place, man. America in general, but just the world in general. You know, and the Lord, hey, he brings judgment every day, man. He brings judgment every day, man. This dude ain't even getting no warning. He just went to the room, got his gun, came back out, and shot her ass 4 to 5 times in the kitchen. You know? Like, you think, like, you know, like, where's the respect for your, where's the respect for your woman? You know, like, I hate this little bitch, but you know what I'm saying, you know, out of the sake of, her mother, I'm not gonna, take her daughter's life, You know what I'm saying? That nigga was like, fuck that. At 61 years old. I remember one time, because I grew up in the South, and this, I ain't gonna say this. Well, this guy, you know what I'm saying, he's got an age of the South. I don't even know if he grew up down there, so to speak. But I can remember my uncle. And I got an uncle like the same age, I don't know that crazy part. My mama was pregnant at the same time. But I got an uncle that's around the same age as me. He's like a year and a half older than me. And so we all grew up together. But my grandmother's brother, which is my uncle, which is my great uncle, basically. And I think we was like, we had to been like 12, 13 at the time. And my uncle, he had a real smart ass mouth too. And my uncle, he used to carry a, he always had his gun on him. He was like a cowboy. This is Alabama. He only wore cowboy boots. You know what I'm saying, with the spurs. He had he had a long nose 22 9-shot. That bitch was a revolver, a 9-shot revolver, 22, one of them long barrels. Just like a cowboy. It was hang off his hip. He had the gun holster and everything, just like a cowboy. Wore cowboy hats. He just grew up in the South. And he kept that gun on him. And my uncle ended up saying something smart. And my great uncle pulled that gun off of his hip and shot my uncle like 3 times in his fucking rib cage, man. and we had to rush his ass to the hospital. I can remember me and my oldest brother being mad and shit. We wanted to scrap and this, and this, but the Lord kept us out of the way because my uncle didn't play no fucking games. All that old sassy fucking talk, but that was around that time when there was actually still manners in the house. But my grandmother was heartbroken because she was like, "Man, you shot my son." You know what I'm saying? But shit, uncle didn't play that shit. And my uncle did have a he was a foul nigga, so to speak, you know what I'm saying, even as a kid, you know what I'm saying. So my uncle ended up, he didn't die though. We ended up, my mama ended up, you know what I'm saying, he jumped all in the car and shit, got him to the hospital and shit, and they plugged his ass up, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, man, my uncle didn't play that shit. Yeah, I was like, I didn't fuck around with Unc after that, I stayed the fuck away from that nigga, you know what I'm saying. But just that disrespect, some of them OGs, man, they not going for that shit, man. So hey, I'm gonna end out there. We gotta really just be, the scripture talks about a slow answer. What is that? I'll end with that. Let me get that. I brought this scripture out yesterday too, Proverbs 15:1. It says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." Yeah, man. Hey, all she had to do was just, was just step to the side. Or she could have said, "Excuse me," herself. If you got, especially if you living with a nigga, I don't know what to say. Like I said, I don't know if he moved in with them or, you know what I'm saying, they moved in with him. But still, though, if the dude is dealing with your moms, you ain't gotta, act as if he's your damn dad, type of dilly. But respect, you just out of respect for her, you could have had respect for him. But you can clearly see there was no respect there. Well, he could have said, "Excuse me." All right, that nigga, man, shit. And that don't even seem like a whole bunch to make a nigga go get his gun, but nah, he did. Shit. So hey, we gotta beware, man. And again, the nigga woman, man, is she's just really just turning out to just be a goddamn problem, man. It just is what it is, man. We gotta just look at it for what it really is. The apostles is not telling no lies about how reckless they are, man, and how they can just get you fucked up and get you in all kinds of shit, So I'm gonna end out there. Pray that the lesson was edifying. Kwame Yashal and the Bible Boy.